is the greatest moment in my life.
Hey, yo.
Hello, I'm a lady.
That placement of your head on today's background graphic is quite interesting, isn't it?
I've got a real pair there.
You have, haven't you? Hey, a real bad. Sean's having a good old look over your shoulder as well.
He will do.
Hey. Good old Michaels. He had a great time, didn't he? But we'll get to that, mate. We'll get to that.
It was so bad. I bitterly regret putting that forward.
Well, yes. I mean, I think this is going to be quite an interesting episode of Chain Wrestling, considering we're supposed to be a wrestling podcast, and we're not actually going to talk any wrestling, I don't think.
Well, I mean, we can mention this weekend's news, I suppose. I mean, it's been the biggest news in the wrestling world. Vince McMahon stepping down from the company at 77 years old or whatever. And he's
I thought you meant old Claudio winning the Ring of Honor title. Sorry.
Oh, that's huge news. Yeah, I believe Jonathan Gresham has quit on AEW as well because of that.
Oh, dear me. Never mind.
Brilliant.
Well, I've never seen the guy wrestle. I might have seen one or two matches, but nothing major. There's no skin on my nose, really.
How did we start by mentioning Vince McMahon quitting wrestling, the biggest news in wrestling in 40 years, to going on about, I don't really like Jonathan Gresham, he's a bit shit.
Just how we work, mate.
It is.
Just how we work, isn't it? You know, it's everyone else will be covering this supposed big news. We'll cover the real stories, the ones that matter.
I am getting a lot of love for my for my eyes today.
For your eyes, yeah.
This has worked out really well. This was totally unplanned as well, but I can't help staring at my own jubblies.
Your own jubblies, as I said, as cannot Sean. It also looks like Sean's lipstick matches your jumper, matches your your dress. Sorry, it looks like Sean's got a similar same red.
Me and Sean may have been doing a bit of canoodling.
What? And he kissed you that hard, the colouring from your dress rubbed off on him.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say these lips.
Oh my God. And on that note, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or indeed watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, SJP World Media Production in conjunction with Radio Techers. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Pamela Anderson, my Ole Anderson, the Hasselhoff to my Koloff, a podcaster who, after what I've just spent my first evening home from holiday watching, really needs to stop breaking our show rules. Because we're a wrestling podcast. Stick to the frickin' rules. The podfather himself, Lord Mags, how are we doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing really, really well. A bit of crappy weather today, but you know I will never stick to the rules. If there is a rule that can be bent or broke, I'm going to find a way to bend or break that rule.
Because you're such a rebel.
Yeah, I know. I can't stop looking. I'm going to have to maybe go full screen because I can't stop. I'm distracted by my own set of jugs.
You can't go full screen because then my head just goes massive and it throws. That distracts me. I get distracted by my own massive head.
I haven't even got any post-it notes to cover it up. There, I'll just put my hand over my own babs.
For those listening on the audio version later in the week, Magsy has taken a screenshot of what our supposed wrestling topic is and put it behind us on the live show, as he normally does. It just so happens that the screenshot of this episode of Baywatch that for some reason, as a wrestling podcast, we're looking at, Magsy's head is quite, perfectly placed on the shoulders of a lady with quite a prominent chest, shall we say.
I did not think this graphic through.
I bet you thought it through a lot. I bet this is intentional.
Yeah, just move the graphic over ever so slightly to make it fit.
I wonder what I would look like if is what was going through your mind when you were making this graphic. Oh, me now. Oh no, I'm too far over. Look, my boobs are on the wonk now. My boobs are on the wonk. Both my boobs are going the wrong way.
That's age. That's age for you.
That's age. Oh dear me, Magsy, should we dive on into the chat, mate, and see who has joined us in these early moments, and then ultimately who has left us because we just talked bollocks for the last 5 minutes.
Exactly. So straight in, Connor. It's Monday, and you know what that means. Hello, Connor. How are you? Sharon, he's taking your gimmick. He keeps nipping in 2 minutes earlier just to steal your gimmick, Sharon. Have a word with him.
As much as we love you, Connor, I'm afraid it will always be the wife's gimmick. Doesn't matter who tries to get on top of it, it's always going to be the wife's gimmick. She was the first, and she will be the one that continues.
Dan Griffin saying, like Fleetwood Mac, you will never break the chain wrestling family. And also, this is where we go. Now, cracking set of busters. Come, Lord Mag's lovely pair of eyes. It's Mag's big personality titties that drew us in. What a lovely blouse. And HBK hasn't stared at anyone that lovingly since he last saw Vince.
I'll tell you what, that's a really good point. I mean, everyone's talking about how exciting it is Triple H is now in charge of creative. Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about how Stephanie McMahon and this Nick Khan, is that his name? Fella, is in charge as like co-CEOs, and Vince has stepped down for all these different reasons and so on. Nobody has given a single thought to Shawn Michaels' feelings in all of this. He must be heartbroken.
No one gave a single thought for Brock Lesnar's feelings until he walked out and then came back 10 minutes later.
Yeah, perhaps he just needed a ciggy or something.
Yeah.
Does you reckon Brock smokes?
Yeah, I think so.
I reckon Brock smokes. I reckon Brock likes some really girly flavour vape juice, like a proper like peach or strawberry or something like that.
He smokes Park Drive.
He smokes what?
Park Drive, like the really expensive snotty cigarettes.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of them. Shows how expensive they are.
Yeah, they're not B&H.
No. B&H, you're having a laugh, aren't you? I couldn't afford B&H when I was smoking. Bloody hell. I mean, if I was feeling, yeah, you could do. If I was feeling flesh, mate, I used to smoke Marlboro Gold, but Lambert and Butler normally.
Wow, classy. With tape around the filter to fill all the holes in.
No, because there were no holes on that. You only if you bought the lights.
Okay, I mean, I don't smoke, so.
Well, I don't either, not anymore. But you know, oh dear me. Magsy, how's your week been, bud?
Yeah, not too bad. Some nice weather, some not so nice weather. But yeah, how's your week been? Especially how's your last few days been?
Yeah, well, really good, mate. Really good. For those who don't know, on Friday morning, we went off to, me, my wife, and my two youngest, went off to, I like peach and strawberry. My wife's just written in the chat for my vapes. I'll tell you what, I tried them. The strawberry's nice.
She has mugged you right off there. Like,
totally.
I bet he's got some girly flavour. I bet and then you like the girliest of the flavours.
What's this? Banana, mine is, okay? That's not girly. Banana is a man's fruit. Okay?
Mugged right off.
I'm not too fond of the strawberry. You know this, Sharon. You ended up with my one last night, didn't you? So there we go. Now, yes, went away Friday morning. Came back today. Had a lovely weekend away in Treco Bay. I love that place. It's fantastic. You know, we're really fortunate in that we know somebody who can sort of get us a place to stay there slightly cheaper than it would be otherwise, which is always a hell. We only went for, like I said, the 4 days, but no, it was lush. The weather was really good for the first day, and then up and down for the next couple of days, but there was enough good weather for it to be worthwhile, and then the bad weather, you just go in the arcades and whatnot, don't you? So
it's always good to have a bit of a break, a bit of time away from regular day-to-day grind, and yeah, it's just refreshing and relaxing, isn't it? So yeah, really glad for you.
Yeah, it was good, mate. It was good. We played cards a couple of times. Now, I've not done this with my family properly, I think, ever. I may have had the odd game here and
cards?
There. Well, no, I've played cards, but not since the kids are a bit older, and they all sit around playing this, the card game and so on. And it's something they used to do once in a blue moon. My wife and the kids would play cards whilst I was sat slightly further back editing or doing something else, you see. So I joined in on holiday thinking, let's have a go. And that's teach me how to play the game, first of all, which apparently, according to them, was an incredibly frustrating experience.
Yeah, I can sense that. For some reason, I can sense teaching you the most basic card game would be annoying.
I imagine Sharon will pop up in the chat and explain a couple of bits and bobs about my
What
my
card
struggle.
game were you playing? What card game was it?
Crazy Eights, I think it's called.
I don't know that one.
That might be called a different name by other people. I mean, for example,
Bad normal people.
well, yeah, maybe. I mean, for example, because of the kids, it seems that my family call clubs the curlies as opposed to clubs because that's what the kids called them. I just called them clubs and got told off. So, but yeah, I imagine it's under a different name for other people potentially. But yeah, crazy. I enjoyed it, mate. It was good crack.
Almost.
Dan Griffin in the chat says almost mastered Snap. Yeah, maybe. I'll tell you what, I'm not very good at that, to be fair. I don't react quick enough.
That's from the years of drink.
It was quite an intense game, to be fair. Snapping it. You like proper with the cards down. You got to be, you're trying to have a slow look at yours before you put it down and shit it. And then you got to react quickly before anyone else does. And then sometimes your hand gets slapped where other people are snapping at the same time as you. That's an intense game, mate.
It is. But it's fun. Especially when you win.
I like it a bit more slow, a bit more, casual. Not that.
Like
not
solitaire or patience.
See, I don't know how to play Patience, but I played Solitaire on the computer.
It's
when you
the
win,
same game.
When they win. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was a different game.
No, it's the same.
I like it when you win. The cards go all over the place.
It's sad when that doesn't happen in real life, though.
Yeah, it is a shame. But yeah, as we were playing cards this weekend, basically, I've never laughed so much in such a long time. Just my kids were cracking me up so much, and just so much was going on that was just genuinely funny. The funniest, and I apologise in advance if this offends anybody because it is not intentional, but at the same time, fucking stop being such a snowflake, I guess. But it turns out that my middle daughter thought we put together a playlist on Spotify with lots of different music, and we all picked a certain number of songs each, chucked it together, put it on shuffle, so it just plays in the background. And a Shakin' Stevens song came on.
I know this story already.
It turns out that my daughter, well, basically, she proclaimed that she was surprised that the guy could sing and so on. We spoke a little bit further on. And
could he sing?
Hey, we'll have no shaky slander. Thank you very much. And we got a bit more, slight, not in depth because there wasn't masses to go into, but we sort of peeled away a couple of layers, and it turns out that my daughter thought Shakin' Stevens was Stephen Hawking.
Brilliant. What Shakin' Stevens song was it?
I think that was Green Door.
Oh my good lord! I
think Green Door and This Old House were both on the playlist. So
this old house was filled with laughter. This old house.
Who's that knocking on the green door?
Snow is falling all around me.
Oh man! Honestly, I've not laughed so much in my face. When my face hurt, my sides hurt. I couldn't breathe to the point where I was genuinely getting concerned because the back of my throat was hurting. Where I was trying to gasp for air. I had a stitch. Oh my goodness! It was ridiculous. One of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
You should have just been sat in the chair like that. No, it's falling. Oh, that's law. I am now mocking a disabled person.
That is bad.
Apologies.
That did not happen once when we were in the caravan.
You absolute liar. You absolute liar. I know for well you did that for about half an hour.
No. Should we move on before we get cancelled?
Quickly now.
Yeah. Okay. Should we chuck some rubbish away, Magsy? Should we get rid of some crap before we get onto our glorious non-wrestling topic? Well, our first non-wrestling topic of two, I guess.
The whole of the show is just non-wrestling. Sorry, folks. We're at least a strong arm, a bit of wrestling into the beginning with a bit of news, but that's it for now.
So we didn't even cover the news. We kind of deviated from there and started talking about your boobs.
Yeah, we did. Anyway, let's go with some Hall of Lame.
Now, was little Livy there giving a bit of a vocal performance.
Lame.
That door is lame. Magsy, what you got for us, mate?
Now, I think over the last couple of weeks I've knocked out the park with it, so I've had to really up the ante. So I'm going way back in the annals of wrestling to essentially the mid 80s. Well, even before that. So my pick is a wrestler called Stanley C. Frazier. Now, he was primarily known, his main character was Plowboy Frazier. He was 6'10", 420 pounds, a real kind of beast of a man. He wrestled all along the kind of like the Gulf Coast in the early part of his career, Alabama, Florida, really popular because that was the area he was born, so he became a massive face. And in the early to mid 80s, he was actually discovered by Jerry Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, and they brought him over to the Mid America region of wrestling and the AWA, and used him in quite a few gimmicks. He was called the Giant Rebel, the Lone Ranger. I mean, looking up some images of this guy, I mean, like I said, he's 420 pounds, 6'10", dressed as the Lone Ranger. It's amazing. It's ridiculous. He was a giant hillbilly, and Tiny Frazier. He was the kind of wrestler that when Jerry wasn't in the title scene, or when they didn't have a big star doing the kind of rounds through the regions, he was the guy who they put in the main event scene because he was popular. But he actually got a little bit of a run in the WWF as well. He was brought into the WWF about 1985 to be part of a stable called the Hillbillies. He was actually brought in as Uncle Elmer. The stable had Hillbilly Jim in it, and then Cousin Junior and Cousin Luke. And we all know the Hillbillies gimmick. They were country bumpkins. They do square dances in the ring. Elmer's specific gimmick was he would have a massive kind of KFC style bucket, but it had on it Uncle Elmer's fried pig parts. Their main feud during this like 18-month run was with Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton. He actually got legitimately married on an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event to his wife Joyce. I think she was called Joyce Stadscore, which was again part of another storyline where Piper tried to get to interfere. They had Jesse the Body Ventura doing the ceremony, and he said, when those two kiss, it's going to be like two trouts farting over the last piece of corn.
Nice.
And this was his legitimate wedding. It was an actual, like, real legitimate wedding. He was part of the WrestleMania 2 card. I think he was on the LA show where he lost to Adrian Adonis. He ended up leaving the WWF in May of 1986 after a loss to King Kong Bundy, and then went back to the territories. Wrestled in Tennessee until he eventually retired in 1989. Set up his own promotion, helped train Hardcore Holly, and unfortunately died in 1992. Now, after saying all that, it feels like it's a bit of a letdown that there's nothing really kind of lame. He got stuck with a country bumpkin gimmick, I suppose. But yeah, I feel this is a bit of a low point for the Hall of Fame. Except I'm missing one little bit out.
Okay.
But today is the day that I told the world that I was going to unleash you the devastating team in professional wrestling on you. Kamala #1 and Kamala #2. You did. The hour's gone, the minutes are gone, and the second is here. Ladies and gentlemen, and I use this word very, very loosely to all y'all slow leaks over there, I present to you the 8th, the 10th, the 15th wonder of the world, Kamala #1 and Kamala #2. Come on, let's go!
Well, we hear it, but we don't see it. There he comes. There comes. Wow, boy. Wow.
What are you laughing at, you idiot? Come here, baby, look at this. Come on, one, and come on, two. What are you laughing at?
You presume.
You fool, you idiot! Why don't you laugh? Give me the microphone, you idiot! Look at this! Kamala 1 and Kamala 2, baby! Woo! Russell, you laugh now! Laugh now, but pay later, baby! I want you to laugh! But I promise you, I'm gonna rule professional wrestling with these guys! You understand that? Come on! That's okay. Laugh, Russell! Ring the bell! Why don't you just ring the bell, you idiot? Ring the bell! Oh, shut up, Brown! What the shit your mouth does? Ring the bell! You gotta laugh! Why don't you laugh when we get through doing this in the ring, baby?
Oh, boy. Who else? Who else but Jimmy Hart? Kamala is in here. He brings out Plowboy Preach. That's Kamala number 2.
So for those who are listening on the audio version, that was a very scratchy video from the AWA with Jimmy Hart introducing Kamala as Kamala and a 6'10", 420-pound white guy as Kamala number 2, and that's Lance. I think he's called Lance Russell, the commentator, laughing at this. It was ridiculous. So we give stick to One Man Gang for becoming Akeem the African Dream. This guy did it 10 years earlier and went all hog to wear the loincloth as well. So yeah, my entrant this week is Kamala number 2.
I didn't think you'd be able to top some of the awful gimmicks you've thrown in over the last couple of weeks, but I think this is up there, mate. This is up there. But
it's ridiculous. It's so bad.
Kamala's whole
bad.
gimmick, and again, Kamala's gimmick itself, whilst being played by Kamala number 1, as he's referred to in this clip, who is a black dude. Okay, Kamala's whole gimmick is he's an African savage. Now, that's quite racist in itself, especially when you look back in 2022 eyes. You know, I mean, it was racist back in the 90s when he was still in the WWF, for crying out loud. Because he's done it like a savage. He doesn't have shoes. He doesn't understand certain aspects of what's going on around him. It's quite insulting, obviously. This is a white guy pretending to be an African savage with the mask and the face paint, and he's carrying a spear. For crying out loud.
He chews up some paper. I think it's paper. Wow. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Lance Russell breaking kayfabe and saying about Jimmy Hart could bring Plowboy Frazier in as Kamala number 2. Brilliant, but also deeply troubling.
Very worthy of a spot in the Hall of Fame, my friend. That is
absolutely.
I mean, so far, so what are we on now? Let me look at the little clock in the corner that says live. We are on 23, just shy of 24 minutes, and we've managed to play something on the show that's relatively racist and laugh at a disabled guy. Yeah,
as Dan said in the chat, a dead disabled guy.
We're not going to be back next week. Oh dear me! I mean, I suppose we could try and skirt around it a little bit in that the whole issue with Stephen Hawking, Shakin' Stevens was literally the naivety of youth, isn't it? It's stop it, Mags. See, my entry into the Hall of Fame this week, it seems incredibly tame in comparison now to this incredibly racist white African savage gimmick that this guy portrayed in the AWA.
You're gonna have to start upping your game.
I am, mate. I am. But I must be honest with you. I ended up remembering that I needed to do a Hall of Fame about 5 to 9.
Brilliant. And that's why you rocked up at like 1 minute to 9.
Actually, I rocked up at 1 minute to 9 because I went upstairs earlier on to watch Baywatch and went to sleep instead.
that was a way better use of your time.
And I woke up around 25 to 8 and went, shit, I'm live in less than an hour and a half. I've still got to watch Baywatch, put together my notes and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of winging it this week in case people can't tell.
See, the effort that he doesn't put in, folks, this is what I have to deal with on a weekly basis.
Do you know what? right, there's other weeks where I put loads and loads of effort in, and it still seems like I'm flying.
And it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's
See?
no difference.
It's hard work putting so much preparation in that you seem unprepared and everything's a bit, because it's live, isn't it? Anything can happen. Woo! And this week, anything could literally happen because I got no idea where we're going from each segment to segment now. But anyway, the Hall of Lame from me this week. Last week, I surprised a few people by throwing in the name Lex Luger, one of my, I wouldn't say favorite wrestlers of all time, but sort of got a bit of a soft spot for. Good memories from the NWA, Jim Cocker Promotions, and then WCW later on, and so on. That was his second gimmick in the WWF. I'd like to complete the set, Magsy, and throw in his first gimmick from the WWF.
Oh, I'm so hoping that you throw in Barry Windham one day. Never,
ever going to happen. Unless I lose some crazy bet or something, I am never going to lower myself and upset myself to, I had a friend's suggestion on Facebook the other day, actually. It says people you may know. It's like you got on Facebook, it's sort of networks all over the place, isn't it? So if you've got, like, say there's a group of, say, 10 people and you're friends with 4 of them already, it'll suggest the others as people you know, right?
Yeah.
Now, because of various different bits and bobs and so on, I've got a few wrestlers who retired wrestlers and so on who I'm friends with on Facebook, speak to occasionally via Messenger and whatever. I got a friend suggestion the other day for Barry Windham, and I was made up. I was over the moon. I was not convinced it's actually him, though.
Send the friend the acceptance out and see.
Oh, no, sorry, I say friend request. Barry Windham didn't request me as a friend because that would have been a 100% click yes. I don't give a shit if you're fake. I am screenshotting that.
Then Barry says, "I am a prince from Nigeria, and
I
just knew Fav."
If you send me a check for all the money you have, I will send you a signed NWA title belt. I've your own.
You'd send it. You'd say PayPal.
I'd fall into that trap, mate. I'd fall into that trap. No PayPal, please, Mr. Powell. I just want your bank details, and I'll sort it out my end. Sweet, cheers, Bazza. I'll see the belt soon. Anyway, my entry into the Hall of Lame this week is the narcissist, Lex Luger, and how it just didn't work. And there's a few people you can point the finger on about this. This was promoted quite heavily going into Royal Rumble 1993, that the narcissist was arriving. They had potentially, again, very tongue-in-cheek, very, very camp and daft and ridiculous and over the top, the unveiling of the narcissist. It wasn't a good moment back then. You look at it back now, it's just pure comedy. But you still got to think it's a pay-per-view when they only had 5, because that year King of the Ring ran for the first time as a pay-per-view. So they had 5 pay-per-views, and they dedicated a good 10-minute segment or so to this. And Bobby Heenan was promoting it. Although Heenan, fantastic, isn't he? Let's be honest. This build.
He wanted to shag Lex. It was that.
Yeah, he was turned on for curtain. When that curtain came back down and he was trapped on the other side of it, I did fear for Lex's safety. I'm not going to lie, but we had the unveiling of Narcissist, and it was what it was. It was kind of, apparently it was Luger very much playing a role very similar to himself, because he does love. Well, back then he did love himself quite a bit, and to be fair, he did look incredible. Let's be honest, the guy looked amazing. However, if it didn't get off to the greatest start, it did kind of just go downhill from there, because Luger then didn't have Heenan at ringside or cutting all of his promos for him or anything like that. Yes, Heenan was on commentary quite often, but not always. Luger would then go on a run of beating pretty much everybody with a running forearm, because he had a metal plate in his arm, which is quite a clever little gimmick they had. They were writing in his motorcycle accident that happened in real life and so on. Pinning people with his little finger on their chest, I thought was quite a nice touch as well. And then he entered into a feud with Mr. Perfect, had a match at WrestleMania 9, which he won, which is, to me, is probably the worst WrestleMania of all time. And
it's up there.
Yeah, and there are no saving graces. There are no good moments in this WrestleMania. So you can imagine a Lex Luger match is pretty much going to be his rating very low for me. Even Mr. Perfect couldn't save this. But that's kind of where it all ended. Nothing ever came from this gimmick, because obviously, a couple of months later, we had the whole, body slamming Yokozuna thing and so on. But all this hype, this huge unveiling, and pay-per-view time, is expensive time, let's be honest. That whole segment at the start it just came off the rails so quickly, but not even in a dramatic way. It wasn't even a case of, oh, this is terrible, it's not working. I can remember 1993 as a kid. I was 12, 13 maybe. And I just didn't care. And everyone I've spoken to just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
It was that moment of you've got Lex Luger, ex-world champion, a well-known name in professional wrestling. You can let him be the total package. You can let him come in and just see what the fans make of him. They boo him, they cheer him. You can run with it, whatever. But in true McMahon style, got to repackage the total package, I guess, into this gimmick. Dedicate pay-per-view time, dedicate Bobby Heenan being a hype machine for the guy, I guess. And it weren't even like it crashed and burned. People just didn't care. And to me, that is very, very lame. So that's my entry into this week's Hall of Lame, Magsy. The narcissist, Lex Luger.
Well, you pulled a very decent pick right out of your arse there. With about 5 minutes to go.
To be fair, I was thinking about it last week anyway, because when we put Luger in already, I was thinking I could just complete the set. So it was kind of in the back of our mind last week, but yeah. Yeah,
I just think Luger, his WWF runs, they were just snake bitten. Absolutely snake bitten. He looked like everything that a wrestling world champion of the late 80s, early 90s should be. Chiseled out of granite, long blonde hair, but he didn't have that it factor that you needed to be to get over with the fans. And maybe it was a case of the wrong fans. He spent a lot of his time on the other side of the territories, so they were, maybe the fans were never going to really accept him up north. But yeah, it's just it never worked for him, unfortunately. And then being saddled with this gimmick, I mean, we've absolutely ripped the piss out of it on the 90s pay-per-view reviews with James, Dan, and with Rob. It's ridiculous, and I think Scottish Danny said it in the chat there. Yeah, Heenan was a saving grace, and even Heenan couldn't polish this turd, unfortunately. Yeah, great pick. And Luger going in twice already. Jesus wept.
I know, back-to-back weeks as well, mate. Back-to-back weeks. But it ain't gonna be. It ain't gonna be a situation where Wyndham goes in, mate. No chance. No.
I mean, I do have an entrant as well, so I could absolutely put him in.
Should we start doing the Badlands gimmick and veto?
No, we shall not.
Is there anything else in the chat we need to check in on, mate, before we get on with our non-wrestling topic this week?
Yeah, I'm feeling incredibly objectified because now we've got more in the chat saying that he can't stop staring at me tits. Yeah, come on, guys. This is what's wrong with wrestling today. Stop objectifying us women. We are people too.
He's not just a piece of meat. He's not just a chest.
Yeah. Don't ogle me. How dare you ogle me? We've got Dan Griffin saying, what in the Kentucky Fried Cousin fucking shit is this? It was that. That's exactly what Uncle Elmer's gimmick, Plowboy Frazier's gimmick was, until he became the albino Kamala.
Albino Kamala.
We've got Scottish Danny saying Jimmy Hart does not age. Yeah, and that's the best part of that whole little package. If you go on YouTube and search Kamala 2, the video is actually about 10 minutes long or something like that, and it shows the first match. Some news I actually found out whilst waiting for Simon to turn up to the show is that Kamala and Frazier actually fell out because Frazier, being from the South, from the 60s, was a little bit on the old racist side. So he was apparently incredibly hard to work with. Andre the Giant was meant to be not a massive fan of his. He rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. So, yeah, he deserves that Hall of Lame entrant. We've got It's got Five Nerds Go. Matt saying it's all right. I'm making you a lovely video, so you'll be safe for a while. 5 minutes later, I wouldn't check your notifications. So
Oh
that's
dear.
luckily I haven't been checking, man. So that's fine. Scotty Danny agreeing that Heenan was the saving grace of this gimmick, and then Dan. Lex Luger can't even down a pint of milk, the useless fuck. Exactly. Everything he touched in WWF just went down like a farting church. The WBF, the narcissist, the all-American hero. Yeah, it all just was a farting church.
Yeah. The tag team with the Bulldogs, does that have any good moments?
I mean, yeah, the Bulldog was in it.
Okay. Fair enough. I mean, that gimmick-wise, I suppose that's kind of a good idea, isn't it? Someone like the Bulldog, whose whole gimmick is being very patriotic, and then Luger, who they've turned into this guy, got nothing to do with either of them at the time. Chuck her in the tag team. In theory, that's a good idea, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole kind of like Brit stuff, yeah, it makes sense. I think that it was just too little too late for Lex Luger. And he was never going to be accepted in the WWF, and that's why his big successes came in the NWA and the WCW.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Shall we jump to Twitter then and have a little look at our non-wrestling topic this week?
Just before we get to that, Rob, hello, sir. He's just put in a comment. West Texas Rednecks for the Hall of Lame. Now that is actually very, very coincidental because I was debating between two picks for this week's Hall of Lame. Obviously, Kamala 2 had to win because it's just ridiculous. But I was going to put Master P and the No Limit Soldiers into the Hall of Fame. So maybe we'll talk West Texas Rednecks next week.
Maybe. I mean, the Rap is Crap song's good though.
It is, yeah. But the reasoning behind it is ridiculous because it was trying to get on that mainstream bandwagon and paying out a shitload of money for people who didn't give a toss about the wrestling business.
Yeah. And to be fair, by that kind of stage, most WCW fans didn't give a toss about the wrestling business either.
Yeah, almost WCW wrestlers.
Yeah. Our non-wrestling topic this week, we wanted to look at great movie soundtracks or great musical moments in films. Anything at all, really, music, movie orientated, I guess. And there's some brilliant comments once again, Magsy, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a few that I'm unsure of as to what they are, which is standard practice for this section of the show, of course. But we'll dive on in. I'll do it in the order, obviously, they came into us once again, which is going to be the completely different order to what Magsy has lined up, as normal.
Did you get any WhatsApp entrance this week?
No.
Good. So we can go straight to Twitter.
Straight to Twitter, mate. Straight to Twitter. Okay. Our first comes from MGB Graham, at MGB Graham on Twitter. He says, Bruce Willis singing Swinging on a Star as a way to measure how long he has to commit a robbery in the brilliant but massively misunderstood Hudson Hawk is an awesome music in film moment. I've not seen Hudson Hawk.
I don't believe I have, or if I have, I've forgotten about it. I know the song Swinging on a Star, though. Was that not... That was the theme tune to a TV program. I can't remember which one it was. But I'm sure Patrick Duffy was in it. But yeah.
I don't know who Patrick Duffy is.
It was out of Dallas. One of the Ewings.
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. Okay. I've heard Hudson Hawk, but I've never seen it. Sharon in the chat there, my good lady, saying, yes, that film is awesome. So obviously I got to check. And I like Bruce Willis as well because, Die Hard. So,
Yeah.
Next up, from Good Cop, Bad Cop Wrestling Podcast, quite potentially Graham again.
Incredibly Graham again.
Yes, he says here, Chariots of Fire. Cue SJP words, humming the music, and Magsy pretending to run in slow motion on Monday. How's the music go?
Dun, 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 dun. I don't know, I thought I knew it, but I don't.
No, that doesn't sound anything.
It sounded like
him.
Stephen Hawking doing an impression of Chariots of Fire then.
Stephen Hawking singing Green Door again or something. It'd be like just someone sat there with an old Casio keyboard pressing one key over and over again, wouldn't it? Oh my god, what is stop it? Okay, move on.
That's worse than me. That's horrific.
No, it's not. You pulled a face and sat back in your chair. Nothing I can do can be worse than that. Oh, is it? Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. That one.
That's the one.
Ah, see, just popped in my head there. Just popped in my head there. Scottish Danny, who I know is in the chat at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter, he says Freddy versus Jason 2003. Now, it will surprise absolutely nobody. I've not seen this. However,
Shock.
I've also heard that this film is a bit ropey in places, and I'm not a big fan of remakes or sort of where big franchises carry on far too long. And this is 2003 with two villains that first arrived in, I believe, 1980 and 1984. I think were the first two Jason films. First Jason film and first Nightmare on Elm Street film. However, the soundtrack, Danny says here, the most early 2000s movie soundtrack ever. The movie is packed with tracks from Slipknot, Hatebreed, Il Nino, Mushroomhead, Seaver, Powerman 5000, Seven Dust, among others, all playing throughout the film. Very much of its time. And I'm all about that. I will check that out.
They sound like very rock and roll bands.
They are heavy, Magsy, some of these. They are, well, some of them. I mean,
I know some of them. I know Slipknot, obviously.
Yeah. You probably heard Hatebreed as well.
And I know Seven Dust.
Yeah. But that sounds, I'm going to have to check that out. Thank you, Danny. That's awesome. I'm going to have to check that out, mate. I may even watch the film. Maybe. James, 80s and 90s wrestling on Twitter. He says, great topic. Can't see past Mr. Lou by Dick Dale, the intro to Pulp Fiction. Okay, yeah, good shot. As a great soundtrack to kick that film off. 24-hour party people. Solid start to finish. Also, not hard to give Trainspotting a shake. Hard not to, give Trainspotting a shake. Oh, and Quadrophenia and Tommy. Some belters on them. See, Quadrophenia and Tommy, they're like classics, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? It's, the soundtracks for them. 24-hour party people. I think I've seen that.
Yeah, I think that's the movie about the Hacienda nightclub.
Okay.
So it's that kind of like 90s dance scene.
Okay, well, I'm all about that, mate. And the soundtrack to Pulp Fiction is just fantastic.
Yeah, and Trainspotting. Trainspotting's a banging soundtrack.
Oh, man. On Pulp Fiction, the Son of a Preacher Man by Dusty Springfield, when she ODs on the drugs, that's fantastic. That is so good. That film's amazing. I'm going to have to watch
that song when she ODs on the drugs is fantastic.
I love that record, mate. I love that film. I'm going to have to watch it. It's one of my favourite films. I love it. It's brilliant. Bruce Willis is in that as well.
He is.
Oh, here we go. At Real Chris Bellis on Twitter. Best soundtrack, the original Ghostbusters one. Still on heavy rotation. So when you say soundtrack, I can only think of a couple of songs from that film. And the first one is obviously the Ghostbusters theme. Yeah, that's amazing. And then the second one is actually from Ghostbusters 2. And it's when they make the toaster dance by putting the slime in it.
Okay.
Your love is lifting me higher.
I know the song.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good one.
Well, jump in at any time, Mags. Don't leave me just to carry on like a knobhead.
I was listening to your glorious singing.
Well, don't, because I run out of lyrics. I only know the first two fucking lines.
Sorry.
Chris continues. Film moments. All of the original West Side Story. Masterful. West Side Story I've not seen. That's the two gangs, isn't it?
Yeah, it's essentially, what is the film based off? I think it's Romeo and Juliet, but based in in the gang world. But for me, the best is when they did, I think it was a Royal Rumble, and they had all the wrestlers dressed as it. That was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Big Show wearing a wig in that was amazing.
Yeah. No, I remember that. Yeah, that's good. Individual song, Chris continues. Shocker by the Dudes of Wrath. Perfect. Now, I'm assuming that's from the film Shocker.
I would assume so.
Chris and Danny covered on Disgusting Awful, which is their horror movie spin-off to One Man's Meat podcast. Now, I've never seen the film Shocker either, but these guys praised it massively on this podcast. So, and I think, I mean, Shocker, I believe, I may be completely wrong. Danny, correct me in the chat or give us as much information as you can in the chat, please, my friend. But I think Shocker was a mid-80s film. So if
Yeah,
we're talking mid-80s, yeah, we can go one or two ways. We can go early thrash metal, or we can go glam hair metal. In which case, I'm happy either way. So
I would think it would be thrasher with it being a horror film.
Yeah, 85. What's that? Master of Puppets came out in 85, didn't it? Stuff like that. So was that 86? Master of Puppets was 86. Sorry, but yeah, around that same time, innit? Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. Hello, sir. He says Highlander's soundtrack was the Queen "It's a Kind of Magic" album. Great songs that really fit the film. Sorry, works as a song. Oh my goodness, works as a song alone album too. So I'm assuming that's supposed to say works as a standalone album too. Yeah. Highlander music on the Queen music for Highlander. Sorry, works perfectly, doesn't it? The whole "Live Forever," "Who Wants to Live Forever," and all that sort. Oh,
it's almost like the film was made around the album rather than the album made around the film. It's really clever.
Yeah, really good stuff. And I mean, the first Highlander I've seen, I think I've seen the second one. Haven't they gone on and made like 96 now or some crap?
Is that The Quickening? Highlander 2, The Quickening?
I don't know.
I think it is.
Because Sean Connery's in the first one, isn't he? Mm-hmm. And he gets his head lobbed off by that bloke who looks a little bit like the Mangold guy from the Goonies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who's the other guy? The main fella? Lambert?
Christopher Lambert. Well, it's Lambert because he's French, you know. But yeah, Christopher Lambert.
So I was going to say Christopher Lambert, but in my head, I thought that was a guy who used to manage Norwich.
It may well be the same person.
Or is that Paul Lambert? Danny Lambert? Something like that?
Paul Lambert.
Right,
Used to play for Celtic.
Yeah, okay. Did he manage Norwich?
I think so.
He played for Borussia Dortmund as well.
I think he played for managed Derby as well.
And of course, he was in Highlander.
And Mortal Kombat. He was rated in Mortal Kombat as well.
Yeah, so that's quite an achievement, playing for Celtic, Borussia Dortmund, and playing somebody in Mortal Kombat. That guy's got range.
What a resume!
They should have cast him in an episode of Baywatch, not Shawn Michaels.
I mean, he couldn't have done any worse.
No. But we will get to that. Oh, what a treat we all have. Millwall Chris on Twitter, at Millwall Chris1. He says, "Glory of Love" by Peter Cetera from Karate Kid 2.
Peter Cetera.
Cetera, okay.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen Karate Kid 2. Don't remember that song.
I am the man who will fight for your honor. That's the only bit I know of it.
Yeah, I sort of ring a bell.
You will know it. When you hear it sung properly, you'll know it.
I'm going to get
great
it.
Tune.
I'm going to sort it out and I'm going to play it as we're talking now on the audio version. So
I mean, you've got lots of homework to do for this audio version.
Oh yeah, totally. There's strong potential as well, real strong chance that what I'm playing as we're talking on the audio version right now is wrong because I've never heard it before.
Because it's a totally different song. That'd be brilliant.
So if that is the case, I apologise to Chris and everyone else. At Pigs Bladders on Twitter, hello sir. It's the greatest musical of all time, Star Wars the musical, and he's attached a YouTube clip there for us as well. Now, Star Wars the musical, I didn't know existed.
And now you're going to go and watch it.
I'm not a big Star Wars fan, mate.
No, man.
I'm going to upset loads of people, but
I love the original trilogy. I absolutely love it. I didn't mind some of the second trilogy. The third trilogy I just have no interest in whatsoever.
I watched the first trilogy, obviously, when I was a kid, because when Return of the Jedi was the last one, wasn't it? What year was that? 83?
I think so. Was it like 77, 79, 83, something like that?
Something like that.
Yeah.
So I watched them when I was, they've been out for a few years. So I was born in 81. And I loved them when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. The new stuff, I don't know whether it's because my younger brother is obsessed with it. And he was at an age where he was like proper obsessive. He was like a teenager when it started coming out and it was all everywhere. And I just got sick of it. I don't know if that influenced my dislike for it. I don't know. But I tried to watch a bit of the first one of the second lot, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I weren't into it at all. And then that Jar Jar Binks dude turned up, and I was just like, yeah, fuck this.
Yeah.
You know?
What ruined it for me is it went from like almost a space opera story to in being about politics for pretty much the whole of the second like trilogy. So yeah, it went away, and then when they start trying to explain the Force by, oh, you've got these parts in your body called midichlorians, and they make you have the, why you didn't need to do that. You didn't need to explain why people have the Force. Yeah, it was as Sharon says, ruined.
Ruined. See, I'm okay with just watching the first 3 minutes. Oh, to be honest, I wouldn't even go back and watch them again, I don't think. And again, I'm going to upset a lot of people with this, aren't I? I think this may be more controversial than our Stephen Hawking's stuff earlier on. I don't stop it. Don't do it. I wouldn't go back and watch the original 3, you know? I go back and watch majority of Bond movies again and again. You know, the first couple of Indiana Jones films, watch them again and again, no problem. Star Wars,
Yeah, I know what you mean. I got the. Do you remember when they brought out the kind of remastered editions? I got the box set, VHS box set of all 3 of the originals, and I never watched them at all. And they're still somewhere stored and unopened. Yeah,
brilliant.
I know.
Oh man, Cam Griff 92 on Twitter. He says here, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 soundtracks are quality. Now, Sharon in the chat, you'll have to help me out here. Is one of those the AC/DC sort of best of? You'll have to let me know. He says here, Cam, I'm an absolute sucker for a musical number as well. So anything from Hamilton to La La Land gets my stamp of approval. Don't forget the Pick of Destiny just to stay on my Jack Black train. Pick of Destiny is great.
It is. But how do you go with Pick of Destiny over School of Rock? If you're talking Jack Black singing, School of Rock's better than Pick of Destiny.
See, I don't know. Is which one's got Dio in it? That's Pick of Destiny, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, well, then, Pick of Destiny all day long. If it's got Dio in it, it wins by default.
Okay. I don't agree, but...
Well, then you're fucking wrong, aren't you?
It's not the first time, it will not be the last.
Sharon there in the chat saying, yes, great soundtrack, and Guardians is the best. No, AC/DC is Iron Man. Oh, yeah, of course. See, AC/DC have never done a best of or greatest hits or anything, ever. There's no, you can't get it. But the way around it is to buy the Iron Man soundtrack, because they use AC/DC's music, and it basically is a best of AC/DC, but it's just called Iron Man, the soundtrack. So, yeah, there you go. A little bit of guidance for anyone who wants to get into the wonderful music of AC/DC. Cam's brother, Dan Griffin, at Dan Griffin21 on Twitter. He says, best musicals are Nightmare Before Christmas and The Greatest Showman. Both of those soundtracks are immense. Greatest Showman, a couple of those songs were on the playlist we put together for our holiday on our Spotify shuffle jobby. And yeah, I don't mind a bit of that. And we watched it one Christmas. We always have a Christmas film, Christmas Eve night, or we'll have a film, Christmas Eve night, sit down as a family night. And one year the kids chose Greatest Showman. And I'm not going to lie, as I sat down for it, I'm thinking, fucking hell, bloody musical. I don't want to fucking, you know, but by the end of it, I was thinking, that was quite good.
I mean, I don't mind a musical every now and again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen The Greatest Showman.
Just check it out, man. It is good. It is good. To be fair,
you are advising me to check out films when you always say, "Yeah, I'll check that out," and never do.
This is really strange, actually, isn't it? It's like a complete role reversal.
It absolutely is.
But yeah, check it out, mate. And the thing is, I'm recommending a musical. I don't think in my life I've ever done that to anyone.
I bet you feel dirty now.
I don't feel great. Dan continues and agrees with his brother. Both Guardians of the Galaxy movies have great 70s, 80s soundtracks. The Star Wars soundtrack, composed by John Williams, is an all-time great. Fair enough. And the Jurassic Park theme music. Now, that is quite cool, isn't it? And it's one of those, it's quite symbolic as well. As soon as you hear it, you know it's Jurassic Park.
You know that it's Jurassic Park, yeah. Absolutely.
That one, isn't it?
It
I'm
is.
glad, because after saying it was very symbolic, if I just hummed the wrong thing, I would look like an ass, wouldn't I?
From a totally different movie.
Yeah.
Sharon is saying I have to watch The Greatest Showman. It's awesome. I will watch it. I'm not Sarah. If I say I'm going to watch it, I'll watch it. I will watch it this week.
Make sure you do that. And that's your homework. It has to be watched by next week, and we'll discuss the Greatest
I'm
Showman.
putting it forward as my pick for next week's topic.
Are there any wrestling links to the Greatest Showman?
I can manage a link in there. Like, Shawn Michaels is the showstopper. Therefore, we get the Greatest Showman.
Oh, why?
There's the link.
And that became so easy to you as well, didn't it? That was
It
fantastic. At Total Stevo on Twitter, our good friend Stevo there, amazing fella. He says, and Stevo's still working his way back through the first 50 episodes of Chain Wrestling. And he's just, as I was on holiday, he put some tweets out saying he's hit the first non-wrestling topic, which came about in episode 11. And he's just hit the first drunk stories as well. And he's loving listening back to the show and seeing how it's changed and grown into what it's become now. So anybody else wants to, just dip in and out of the old episodes, the first 50 are up under the name Chain Wrestling Revisited on the Chain Wrestling channel stream, I guess, via SJP World Media. I'll send the link out later on. Stevo says, blimey, so many. Immediately a Clockwork Orange. One of its themes is based on the main character's obsession with classical music, especially Beethoven. The music evokes an emotion in me I can't explain, but throughout the film works perfectly. I've not seen a Clockwork Orange, Mugsy.
Really?
Yeah, I think Steve bought a Clockwork Orange for a different non-wrestling topic for whatever it was we covered then, and I said I was going to go away and watch it that week.
So you were giving me grief for not watching and forcing me to watch The Greatest Showman, and you still haven't watched Clockwork Orange.
No. I should get that watched this week, and we can report back and compare movies.
Now you have to link the chain to Clockwork Orange from Baywatch.
How can I do that if I've never seen it? I suppose David Hasselhoff is overly tanned. He's a bit orange like Hulk Hogan was.
There you go. Look at that. See how easy it
look
comes.
At that.
See how easy it comes.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. Steve continues. Very similar to lots of films that rely on music to make scenes better than what they see. Similar to what they do in wrestling. How the crowd can take a match from a 5 to a 10, i.e. with Hogan versus Rock and Cena versus RVD. And that is true, isn't it? We spoke about that several times on the show already. Reaction can be so important.
Yeah.
Kick-Ass has a stunning set of songs. American Pie 1 and 2 just put a smile on your face. Not specifically. Sorry, go on.
It's because Steve has an affinity with shagging pies.
Fair enough. Any particular type of pie?
Warm apple pie.
Yeah, okay. Steak and kidney or something.
Oh, Jesus.
Meaty. Steve says, not specifically soundtracks, but you talked a few weeks back about being patriotic, and the overall opinion was how we feel something brings us together, i.e. football tournaments. Well, I mentioned Zulu having a song that's powerful, same with A Bridge Too Far and The Longest Day. 2 World War II films that use a single song that hits home the togetherness of countries, Longest Day, or with The Bridge Too Far, the dark realities of war. Lock, Stock also has some brilliant songs, not specifically a film.
What a soundtrack that is.
The In-Betweeners series has a perfect soundtrack, he says here. Yeah, Lock, Stock, fantastic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That I have seen.
1 out of 11. That's not bad going.
Steve continues. Overall, it really shows how music evokes emotions and a reaction in us. Slightly off topic, but like with our Elite FBL new intro, it makes me smile all the time. I've listened to it at least 6 times since we reintroduced it last week. Brilliant stuff, yeah. I mean, that's something like that as well is great. Like the first intro we ever had on Chain Wrestling, when we got Benny to be the voiceover guy. And that's all we referred to him as for like the first 12 weeks of the show, Benny the voiceover guy. I love you, Benny. We had that sort of dramatic music. And every time I hear that, it still makes me smile. Because it was the first thing I tried to sort of put together on my own, and I was really proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that, yeah.
it's weird how music can make something so much better. I mean, we're talking here about movies and TV programs. Imagine these movies that people have mentioned without these soundtracks, and I think it takes away so much of that, of the drama, the comedy, the thrill of these movies without these soundtracks.
Yeah, 100%. And lastly, we have Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. And his is very simple and straight to the point. Star Wars had the best movie soundtrack, no debate here. I think there is a debate.
Incorrect there, Connor.
But I
It's
appreciate...
good. John Williams is an absolute legend, but there's definitely debate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I appreciate how passionate he is about his opinion.
Oh, my God. Scottish Danny, The Exorcist without music is a comedy. Jesus Christ. Brilliant.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Does it really change the mood that much, the music?
I remember the times I was laughing when she was saying to Father Karras that his mother sucks dicks in hell. Hilarious, yeah.
To be fair, I did chuckle a bit at that. That is a great line.
It certainly is. Rob's actually got you a link here. He's put Clockwork Orange to wrestling. Malcolm McDowell was born in Hosforth, the home of Tartarus Brewery, sponsor of UTT. Well done. Well done, Rob.
That is fantastic.
Well done. And use that code to get yourself 15% off some Tartarus beer.
Brilliant stuff. What else we got in the chat, Magsy, before we go to our non-wrestling topic? I don't fucking know anymore.
Yeah, I think why even mention wrestling, because it's not wrestling anymore. A lot of love for Freddie versus Jason, even though you did slate it. And you know what? I agree with you. I think that was milking the cash cow of those two franchises. They certainly outstayed the welcome for me. Connor has changed his mind from having no debate. He's now saying Until Dusk Till Dawn is another great soundtrack.
Yes, that opening track when they're that sort of Dark Night. Oh, that is a tune.
Mm-hmm. You're getting a lot of love for your dulcet tones.
Then you all need to go get your hearing checked.
Dan, say what we all know. Hang on, Sar's in a movie. And this is why Sar doesn't get a chance to prep for the show and turns up late, because he gets so much homework from the non-wrestling section.
To be fair, the reason I didn't prep for this week's show is because I had a 90-minute sleep at 5 o'clock today. Or 6 o'clock or whatever it was.
Dan is putting some horrific thoughts in your head by saying, imagine if we got evil Jar Jar and he was the head Sith. Me say not I like that thought, Dan. And it would have been perfectly on brand if Sar had hummed the wrong thing. That would have been amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I was very close to humming Ric Flair's entrance music, which is from Space Odyssey, isn't it? I was getting those two mixed up in my head, and I was really close to going the wrong way. But I'm glad I went the right way now.
Brilliant. Dan said Hugh Jackman broke Dolph Ziggler's jaw when he guest hosted Raw. I mean,
link to The Greatest Showman.
There we go. See, there's plenty of links. You just weren't thinking laterally. You need to think outside of the box. What code was that for the on you shilling pair of bastards? Rob and Dan, for the audio listeners trying to make me say the code, well, if you want 15% off your Tartarus beer, who are sponsor the UTT podcast, use the promo code UTT podcast 15. I feel dirty now. I am a second-hand shill. Jesus Christ. And also, while you're there, buy some chain wrestling merch.
Hold it up, Magsy. I haven't seen one of those yet. I mean,
I'm wearing the cunt.
I fucking designed it, but there we go. Fuck copy. Look at that. Oh, what a yeah. UTT podcast, fantastic listen. And I love the shameless shilling. You're saying you're sat there saying you feel dirty. I admire it. This is
you admire the moxie.
Yeah, this is my kind of level. Oh,
And Sharon finishing it off for now, saying "Dirty Dancing" wins. End of. Do you know, for a middle-aged bloke, Dirty Dancing has got a decent soundtrack, and so has what is the movie called? Pretty Woman. That's got a banging soundtrack
Yeah.
as well.
Okay. See, Dirty Dancing was one of the ones I was going to chuck in there, to be fair. I'm glad the wife
So-
piped up and said this.
Yeah, took your pick away.
Yeah, I
Not
got
for the
nothing.
first time.
I got nothing. What about you, Magsy?
Yeah, I've got a few that haven't been mentioned. I like a lot of the stuff that have been mentioned, but I've got a few soundtracks that I think are absolutely outstanding. There's one for Donnie Darko, a brilliant kind of mid-80s, early 90s soundtrack. You've got In Excess on there, Tears for Fears. You've got some Joy Division, Echo and the Bunnymen, and obviously you've got that massive hit, Mad World, out of it. Then I love the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack, particularly two huge songs off that. You've got Limp Bizkit, Take a Look Around. That was off that soundtrack. And then one of my favourite Metallica songs, I Disappear, was off that film as well. Banging track. And I like a lot of Hans Zimmer soundtracks. He, along with John Williams, is arguably 1A and 1B when it comes to movie compositions. But for me, standout is the soundtrack for Inception. Now, that may be a film that you've seen, sir.
It is not.
Brilliant. So basically, Inception is all based around like dreams, and the further into your dreams you go, the slower that time is. It's just it's a brilliant film. It's a real man bender, sir. But it's Leonardo DiCaprio's like the main star of it. But yeah, if I would recommend that film heartily. It's such a good film.
Saying Leonardo DiCaprio's in it. The name now rings a bell. I think I might have seen an advert or a trailer for it and thought, oh, that looks really good.
The one with you probably remember the spinning top that almost falls. No, you don't. Anyway, we're going massively off topic. What's really clever about this this soundtrack is it uses the Edith Piaf song "Non Je ne regrette rien." Everyone will know that.
Yep.
But because it's about time and how time slows down, the song is repeated all the way through the movie, but it's just slowed and slowed and slowed down until it's basically just noise, and it's like almost kind of like booming horns. But when you speed that song back up, it's the original song is just so well in warping that one song to make a brilliant, clever soundtrack. So I definitely recommend that for anyone. The Inception soundtrack.
Okay, yeah, same. I look at the movie as well. Anything time travel wise and stuff like that really interests me. So
Yeah, it's not so much time travel. It's essentially Leonardo DiCaprio's character he's a thief. But he doesn't steal kind of physical things. He steals thoughts and ideas from people by basically breaking into their dreams and tricking them to think that this is real life, so he can take those ideas from them, and then when he wakes up, he's stolen it off them.
yeah, okay. Oh, I'll definitely check that out, man. That sounds good.
That's your homework. So you've got 2 films to watch this week.
How can I fit in 2 films?
You fitted in a 90-minute snooze before you even watched the main topic of this show.
That is true. That is like the length of a film. Well, some films, isn't it? To be fair. Top Gun soundtrack, Magsy. I like a bit of that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Cheesy 80s stuff. Yeah, that's quite good. The Crow as well. This one was suggested by my wife, actually, The Crow. And there's a track from The Crow. On The Crow soundtrack by 9 Inch Nails. That, again, got played on holiday whilst we were around. I was like, this is bloody brilliant. And then a certain part came in. I was like, oh, it's The Crow, you know? What's my wife saying there? Sharon in the chat.
She's put, shall I write a list of the films that Sire said he's going to look into? what actually should happen, Sharon, is he updates his Excel file with all the information on this show in films that he said he's going to watch, and then films he's actually gone on and watched, like a tick list.
Yeah, it's easier if Sharon does it, to be fair. We got a couple more there in the chat, Magsy, before we get into our main topic, I guess.
Yep, Sharon has said Thor: Love and Thunder has an epic soundtrack. Is that the latest Thor film? I'm so off on my Marvel universe. I haven't watched it in so long. Guns N' Roses all the way. Then Dan said Led Zepp in Thor Ragnarok. So Thor really getting some love with the soundtracks. Then Sharon said, I don't like Zeppelin. Well, I mean, that's time out, tackle that, I think. But I don't hear much when I'm looking at the Mighty Thor. Fair play.
Well, see, the whole, something we could potentially bring back because people's opinions may have changed, but the whole topic we had once upon a time of I don't get it. One of the things I put forward as a big rock fan was Led Zeppelin. I don't get it. I don't get it. A couple of tracks were all right. The rest of it, I don't get.
I mean, horses for courses, I suppose. If we all like the same thing, it'd be a boring world.
It would indeed, mate. It would indeed.
And that's why we're watching Baywatch, motherfucker.
Yeah. Are we going to play the wrestling jingle, or?
I mean, we've got to, because it's the law. But please temper your expectations, because there will be the minimal amount of rumbling in this part.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I mean, I like to think I'm quite a positive person. I try and put a positive spin on certain situations. Now, in this scenario, we could look at it as we're getting to watch one of the most beautiful people in the world in a classic television show that was popular all over the world in Shawn Michaels and Baywatch. You know? Not Pammy, obviously. She plays second fiddle to Shawn.
I mean, so did Pammy's mum, quite clearly.
Oh, dear me. Our wrestling topic, non-wrestling, whatever, is an episode of Baywatch this week.
How did this win? How did this win?
Because everyone wanted to hear us just talk nonsense about shite. And to be fair, the poll was quite close as well, to be fair. It was like 55%, 56% this one by.
It was, yeah. But they went with the right pick of making us watch Baywatch. Now, I hope all you who voted watched it as well.
They didn't.
No, they didn't.
They didn't.
Absolutely, they did not.
Or that episode of Baywatch, I believe it's on. Well, you sent a link out with the Daily Motion link, sorry. And I also think somebody else, I'm terribly sorry, I've forgotten who let us know. It may have been James, I'm not sure. But they said that it's available on Amazon Prime as well.
Okay. Do you know, I didn't even think to check for Amazon Prime as well. I checked Netflix for it and it wasn't on there. What an idiot. No. We didn't have to watch it like back to front.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Yeah, it was very much annoying. It was so
the whole
annoying.
thing was flipped, wasn't it? So
it was.
And it had a German translation as well at the beginning. Did you see that?
First
of all, the Baywatch theme tune. That's a tune. That is bloody great.
That should have been mentioned. That should have been mentioned in the previous topic.
Yeah, that's true. Well, no, we're saving it for the main topic, Magsy.
Just to link like a segue.
Yeah. The Baywatch tune is great. It's just pure 90s cheesy. Oh, it's superb. And then the intro on the Daily Motion link that we watched this episode on. First of all, it's backwards, so the Baywatch word flies across the screen H first, which is always brilliant, and then it comes up again with a German translation, effectively, or what the German title of the show was. Now, I don't speak. I speak a teeny bit of German, hardly anything, and but I don't speak it backwards. So when this flew across the screen, I was like, are these people's names? Are these the actors that are in it? What's this? But it was something like Dash, Vimmer, Hair, whatever it was, and it was just like, oh, Vegas was on there.
That's because David Hasselhoff is massive in Germany. They absolutely adore the guy.
Yeah, they love him, Yeah. Oh, dear me. Imagine what would happen if those people had won the war. Man.
Wow. We're throwing bombs today.
Yeah, poor choice of words there, mate, to be fair, considering the topic I just brought up. Anyway, also at the beginning of this episode of Baywatch, I noticed that there's two moments that made me chuckle, and I don't want to be seen as digging this guy out, okay? But we have, effectively, this is a vehicle for just getting people to sit down on a Saturday afternoon, early evening, and look at some pretty people. That's what it comes down to. That's what this program is. The acting's not great. The storyline's
bloody hell. That is putting it mildly. The acting is wank.
So you got David Hasselhoff, who he may not be in his prime, but I imagine there's a certain element of housewives of the UK that find David Hasselhoff very attractive. There's obviously the younger men who are very toned and bumpy, and they look incredible. Their hair, they got the perfect white. All of them got very white teeth, Max, haven't they? Like Ross from that episode of Friends. They're just gleaming away. Whatever toothpaste is the best seller in this area of America should just be out there all over the world, because that shit is some good shit. Yeah, just literally bleach. A bottle of bleach. And then of course we get all the female lifeguards running in slow motion, and then naturally there's Pammy, who is the highlight of the show.
And I mean, we've got a 45-minute show to go through to cover, but what pissed me off is they showed all these stars, Yasmin Bleeth, and I think she's called Donna DeRico.
She's called.
Yeah, and none of them are in it. None of them are in this episode at all.
I don't remember all these people being in Baywatch. There seems like the opening segment. It seems like, I mean, the song is what, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, or whatever it was.
Pretty much, yeah.
They play the whole damn thing at the start of the episode because they've got to fit in all the people who are starring in the show. And I'm thinking, who's that? Who's that? I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm looking at the women and going, wow, that isn't. To be fair, I'm looking at the blokes. I'm thinking he is very attractive as well, and I'm completely straight.
Yeah. Apart from one. And
this is the one I was going to come to. This is the one that made, and I said, I don't want to be digging this guy out, but the very last person, from the neck down, he's put together. From the neck up, he's got a really weird noncy pedo mustache and a bald head.
He's going bald. I think he's called reading backwards. I think he was called Matthew Newman, and he was the odd one out in this. This was literally like Hollywood, beautiful people, and then a primary school teacher called Matthew Newman. Yeah. It was ridiculous.
You can imagine him in a brown blazer on Grange Hill, couldn't you? With that mustache and big thick rimmed glasses, like that hairline, and
Just say no.
Yeah, but it gets worse for this dude because they have, after they ran through everyone's names, and this guy is the last one up, and it says, and this is you say David Newman, his name?
Matthew Newman.
Matthew Newman. Okay, well, Newman, I'm not being funny because of his age, isn't very accurate, let's be honest. But they then show clips, also action shots, and of course we get Pammy diving into the water in slow motion, and that's glorious as always. And we might end up getting to Jenna Coleman adoration levels from the Doctor Who pod about Pamela Anderson here. This is what we're talking. But we get obviously Hasselhoff running through the sand or slowed down, sucking his belly in, of course, naturally, and all this and all the other.
No, he's chiseled. Stop that! Don't you dare say that.
All the people, in slow motion, running through the water and all sorts. And then we cut to our friend Newman, who has got one of those red float jobbies, and for some reason he can't run. And he tries to run through He's trying to run through the sand, but his feet are hitting the sand in a wider stance than his shoulders are. So his legs are like well out here.
He's doing the Chariots of Fire run.
Yeah, he's not really going anywhere either. It's like he's like and it's like he's power walking, but he's kind of on the spot. I mean, they did this guy dirty, didn't they?
He can't have been in many episodes.
I don't know. Phil time.
I'm not going to go back and look at them all because the episode that we're watching is actually season 7, episode 7. So yeah, this was well into the late stages of Baywatch. I think this was when David Hasselhoff was actually doing Baywatch Nights as well, where he was the detective. So he was he was doing a bit of moonlighting. Maybe that's why he's not in this episode for that long.
Okay, right. Michael Newman first appeared in
Michael
Baywatch.
Newman, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, first appeared in Baywatch in the episode Panic at Malibu Pier, which instantly fills me with suspense and tension. I don't know if I can be allowed to...
A panic, maybe.
His last appearance was in 2017. Oh, that must be the movie. Oh, no, I'm looking at something different. I'm looking at the wrong guy.
You're a fucking idiot.
Okay. Michael Newman. Here we go. Got him. Oh, okay. What year was this made, this episode? 97?
Something like that. Along those lines.
Right. So when this was filmed, Michael Newman was 40.
And he looked every day of it.
He looked 60. And it says here, Michael Newman is an actor who played a caricature of himself on Baywatch.
So he was an actual lifeguard.
his character's role of firefighter and lifeguard is somewhat based on his real life. He was the only real lifeguard to appear on the show and has been lifeguarding since the age of 10 as a Santa Monica junior lifeguard. See, we should have put a bit more respect on that guy's name, mate. We just mocked him.
After you were calling him a potential nonce.
I didn't say he was a nonce. I said he's got a nonce tash.
I mean, I put a bit of respect on him by saying he looks like a teacher, primary school teacher, but you nonced him out, so shame on you.
Oh, for goodness sake. Mr. Newman, is he still alive? I'll close his phone now.
He's still on Santa Monica Beach now, lifeguarding.
Yeah, he's like there diving in, rescuing people 75 years younger than himself.
We've got Ori in the chat saying, I've never looked any better. Look, Ori, we've had this. Stop ogling. Listen, I am not a piece of meat, ma'am.
Oh man, shall we get into the episode then?
Let's do it.
Okay, we get straight into the excitement. There's no messing around here, is there? Straight into the action, you know. And this is where I think this episode of Baywatch has the advantage over professional wrestling. We don't get those long standoffs in the ring or the really long musical entrances where it takes the Undertaker 15 minutes to get to the ring where we wait. Oh no, this is straight into the action, Magsy, because there's some little kids playing on some rocks.
And Michael Newman, this was his time to shine.
Oh my God. From an educational standpoint, obviously, as the teacher that you make...
Learning them about water safety.
Yeah, not from a Nancy standpoint.
With his cock out.
Oh my God, right. I feel we need to make some sort of proper disclaimer now. We don't think Michael Newman or anyone else involved in Baywatch is a nonce, and we apologise if anyone thinks that way. Oh, for Christ's sake. I like doing this show. I don't understand why we end up going down these different routes and effectively... I'll go downstairs now. When we finish every live, I go back downstairs and I say to the wife, "How was that?" And she goes, "Yeah, it was good." And I goes, "How close were you to getting cancelled?" And every week she's pretty much going, not looking good. But yes, there are these kids playing on the rocks, and then one of them decides to go for a little wander into these caves, and then of course the tide comes in very quickly, and we see.
Well, I think they're essentially playing hide and seek because they've got walkie-talkies, and the kid who's going in the cave essentially gives clues to where he is. I mean, he makes it clearly obvious that you have to go in a cave because he says you've got to be like the Neanderthals. But silly kid going into a cave when the tide was coming in, and he gets trapped.
Thankfully, we have two lifeguards on hand who are paying no attention to bugger all other than each other.
Well, they're planning, I believe it's the guy's called Cordy. That's CJ, Pamela Anderson's the character. That's her boyfriend. and I think it's his birthday, and they're having some making some plans, getting his favourite food, his favourite music. Basically, he's gonna get to do the no pants dance with old Pammy.
It's
That's his
definitely
plan.
his birthday.
Yeah. And it's all ruined because of these little shits playing on the beach in the summer. How dare they?
Mate, honestly. I reckon 95, 96, 97 Pamela Anderson is potentially peak Pamela Anderson. When did
There were
when did
certainly
Barbed Wire
peaks.
come out?
There were
Yeah,
certainly
definitely.
peaks.
And this guy's supposed to be copping off with Pamela Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an argument just to say fuck it and let the kid drain? Is there?
Brilliant. I mean, I would definitely I would just, when that little kid, the little brother comes running up and says, my brother's trapped in a cave. I'm like, I can't swim, mate. No one can do about it.
I can give you one of these weird shaped red things though, if that'll help.
Yeah, have at it.
There you go, mate.
May God go with you.
Right. I've got a different point here though, okay, to make that I think is quite important. Where the fuck are these kids' parents?
That is a very, very good point, because you never see them at all.
Ever. Have they gone on holiday on their own?
And also, why is there a lifeguard post on the what looks like rocks? It's not even remotely looks like a beach.
No.
So what are these kids doing over there? Yeah. The Santa Monica sea safety leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, because they're spending all their time looking at each other, aren't they? It seems, anyway, from this opening scene, that's the way it seems. You know, I mean, to be honest, if I was working with Pammy, I wouldn't get much work done. I'd just be looking at her all the time, to be fair. I've got to admit it, you know, but there we go. There we go. The kids get saved, though, which is, you know.
Not by Pammy.
No,
Not
no,
at all.
she gives moral support, mate.
She's wearing Ugg boots as well, which Ugg boots and the red leotard. But Cody saves the day, gets into the cave. Not the first cave he'll be getting into in this show, but saves the young lad and is the hero. Yeah. And then that's all we hear of that. We never mention this opening segment again.
No. Because this isn't a special occasion. This is just part of their life, Max. You know, this is like getting out of bed and having a cup of tea to them in the morning. This is just their life.
I think the whole point of this opening scene is to say, yeah, we are a show about the sea. We are a show about the beach. I promise. And then we go on to all the other shenanigans. This is the epitome of chain wrestling. We pretend to be a show about wrestling. They pretend to be a show about ocean safety.
We're not even pretending this week, mate. And I reckon the whole purpose of this opening scene was literally just to get Pamela Anderson and her chap Cody wearing very little, splashing around a bit in the water and so on. As early as possible, get them on the telly. There you go.
Yeah. Makes sense. That was where the money was at.
We kick off then over in Vegas, I'm assuming. All those flashing lights and so on must be Vegas.
It's
here,
apparently Vegas.
Here is where we see, ironically, I suppose, Vinny from Vegas.
I mean, is that not to you the biggest misfire from this TV show? How did they have someone called Vinny in Vegas and not have in that role Vinny fucking Vegas?
Yeah,
how?
Kevin Nash.
Yeah. It would. Andy looks harder than Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, his bodyguard, is somebody who's about 1.5 inches taller than him. That's ridiculous.
It's insane. Shawn does not look like a bodyguard here at all.
No, he doesn't.
You know, I'll be honest. At first, I thought Shawn was the bodyguard of the lady.
Okay.
Because that, to me, because of the way Shawn looks and the way the other guy looks, the guy is it Tony, the guy that he's the bodyguard of?
Tony Blanton.
Right. He looks tougher than Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
So that didn't work for me. So I thought Shawn...
He looks like a mafioso type of guy.
Yeah. I thought Shawn was the bodyguard for the lady.
Nope, but he's not.
No, he's not. And he is, like you said, he's not tall enough or big enough. I mean, this is bad because obviously from a wrestling standpoint, we criticize people who say that wrestlers aren't big enough to do certain roles. And here we are saying Shawn Michaels is not big enough or scary enough to work on Baywatch. Oh dear.
It's true though. He looks tiny compared to the person he's meant to be protecting.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, naturally, because it's Shawn Michaels, he's got a lovely waistcoat effort on with no sleeves. So, because that's what everyone wore in 1997, apparently. This effectively sets the scene because there's a lot of chuff in this episode, isn't there? This episode was like 47 minutes long, and there's a lot of crap. So I think we can strip it back down to as primitive or as strip back a plot as we can get. Effectively, this blonde lady has been
this blonde lady down here.
Yes, this blonde lady here, who Magsy is modelling the breasts of, is she is Tony's current girlfriend. Tony is a big gambler and a big mobster, and he sees his girlfriend as being lucky. So he's been waiting for her to come down to the table where he can throw some dice and gamble and so on, because this is his lucky charm. He loses a shit ton of money. He then decides she's not lucky anymore. And then we get a cameo by a waitress just randomly come up to the lady who Shawn Michaels has got grips to behind Magsy's little head there. And this lady says, "Oh, you want to be careful, Wind. His last two girlfriends weren't lucky anymore, and they disappeared.
We've never saw them again." Dun, dun,
Like,
dun.
oh my word! It's like, okay, well, that's a big old swerve there. I didn't see that one coming. She panics a little bit. She's taken up to the bedroom by Shawn. Not in that way. She's taken up to, well, maybe we know what Shawn was like around this time. Perhaps he did. I don't know.
Yeah.
I bet he had a great time on that set. I bet he had an awesome time on that set.
I bet he fluffed his lines multiple times on purpose.
Yeah, totally. I bet he fluffed loads of stuff. Anyway, we oh my god, I'm 41. This is pathetic. The basic gist is then that she decides that she's in danger because of this well-informed waitress who has come to her aid, who's given her this information. She decides to make a run for it, but beforehand jumps on pretty much the oldest PC I've seen since the last time I played on and steals a copy disc.
Yeah, and this is something else that annoys me, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, being a retro gamer. She turns that computer on and it's on instantly. No messing about, no loading up, no waiting for the operating system to come in. It just works perfectly. And basically she finds out that he has been making a lot of money through gambling, and she says, "I wonder if he's told the taxman about this." So we're getting into a taxman storyline. So she gets this floppy disk and it's got all his information, and him being the very conscientious criminal that he is, puts his name on the file. So if the taxman does get it, they know exactly who the criminal is. Such a well-mannered criminal. But she steals this disc, makes a run for it. And when Tony comes to kill her in the room, he discovers that she has taken the disc and escaped.
Yeah, the disc that apparently is so important it can get all these gangsters sent down for multiple years. That is just sat on the top of the desk. There's a pile of like 20 discs in this box. This is the top one. Naturally.
Well, no. It was actually well hidden in a secret compartment in the box.
Oh, was it? I missed that.
Yeah. So she opens the top of the box and then the bottom of the box slides out, and that's how he knew she had the disc.
Oh yeah, because the bottom bit was sticking out when he went in the room. Look, I apologise to the writers of Baywatch for poking holes in your plot that weren't there. It's obviously much more in-depth, highbrow writing than I gave it credit for. It turns out this is Pamela Anderson's mum.
I mean, before we even get there, there's a massive plot hole that pissed me off. For people who know me, I get really aggravated by plot holes, or when I find stuff that it takes me out of movies when I find massive plot holes. So the early scene was kind of setting that it was Cody's birthday and he was going to get some birthday monkey loving from CJ. Now, her mum was in Vegas. Cody's now getting his romantic night, and her mum has made it from Vegas to California and got changed before that night was even over. How on God's green earth has she made that trip so quick?
Well, they said that she flew, but is that not possible?
Vegas is like in the middle of the desert.
Right, okay. So, yeah, not possible then.
I would highly doubt it, unless they packed up their lifeguarding at, like, say, lunchtime. They just, we're only doing half a day.
Well, maybe that's what happened. But, you know, they weren't paying attention to the sea anyway. The kid had to literally come up to them and say, hey, do your fucking job. There's someone drowning down here. You know, and they were both like, oh, shit, we were just about to go home. But all right,
Yeah,
then,
for fuck's sake.
And then maybe that was a case of, okay, they get their clipboard, locked up for the day, done this, done that, flirted, saved a life. Oh, yeah, done that. Oh, we ticked all the boxes now. We can go home.
Early lunch.
Yeah, exactly. If you're driving after this, sod it. We've met our quota for the day. We've got our one save. We're done.
Maybe.
Maybe,
But
maybe.
it just annoys me, things like that.
And that's what took you out the moment in this show, is it?
Yeah, because the rest of it is quality TV.
That's where you draw the line. A timing issue. Okay. She turned this lady who is CJ's mother turns up and interrupts this evening, as Mags explained. The acting is so wooden, it's insane. It's terrible. It is atrocious. She effectively then the following day hides the disc in CJ's locker, which is obviously where you would put it. Of course you would, because
it was clearly take your mum to work day. And she also goes to the beach with a massive hat on and a full body covering white suit, which kind of makes absolutely no sense.
And she's led their sunbathing as well when the sun's not going to hit her.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
woman's a bit gone on the edge, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, she is. She definitely is.
In the meantime, we find out that Vinny, our hero of the piece, Mr. Michaels, is being sent after the disc-stealing thief, who is obviously the villain.
And finds her instantly.
Yeah, of course he does. He knows exactly where he's going, exactly what he's doing. And this is where the famous gift comes from, Magsy, isn't it? Where he's looking through the binoculars that you bought up the last week.
Mm-hmm. So essentially there is she's sat on the beach. David Hasselhoff is actually now in the show. He's doing his life saving, and we see Shawn Michaels on a bridge in a suit and a turtleneck, looking over and smiling because he's found the person he's been sent to get. Slaps on the shades, and then we get a bit of a MacGuffin, a bit of a piece in the movie that creates the distraction. A kid almost drowns in the sea. Pammy and David go and save this kid, and there's a big crowd comes to gather. So Pammy's mum is at the back of this crowd, looking over and trying to see what's going on. And Shawn Michaels comes to essentially kidnap her, but he's not wearing his suit anymore. He's literally got fully changed and put on a pair of blue swim shorts. And he just nonchalantly just walks over. Like whistling away. Just grabs Pammy's mum. And she causes a scene, but yet nobody at all turns around who are within inches of Pammy's mum to be bothered. No one's like, what is he doing? Grabbing her. And he tries to kind of like force her off. And again, not in a major rush getting her off the beach. Even though it's quite clear that Pammy and David will be back very, very soon. They get a few meters down the beach. Pammy sees that her mum's being kidnapped, shouts, and then the mum turns into the Rock, gives Shawn Michaels the old rock bottom, and then because she's still hard in the fact that she's in a little bit of trouble with Mr. Blanton, she tells Pammy and David that it was an argument over a $100 bill that they found. He thought it was his. She wanted it. Let it go. We'll leave it. Not panicking because this killer is here and he's found where you are. Don't worry about it.
I like the idea that when he's changed out of his suit into his shorts, and of course, naturally at this stage, he lets his hair down as well, doesn't he?
Of course he does. Well, I
He
mean,
makes
why would you not?
He makes sure it's all in perfect position. I like the idea that as he's doing this, and then as he's striding across the beach, in his head, he's going, "Just a sexy boy." Sexy boy, I'm not your boy.
I wonder if he got Pammy to sing that.
I'd like, that's what I imagine is going on in his head at the time. But I also think it's quite apparent that everybody who lives in this area, or everyone who visits this area, just instantly has their IQ lowered and becomes a moron. Because as you said, nobody notices the kidnapping, and nobody notices the kid struggling in the water, apart from Mitch and CJ, who seem to have this weird sixth sense, and they both sort of go, "I sense danger," and they glance across at the water, and there's a kid just like starting to struggle. But then when they get out to him, it's blatantly obvious the water's only about waist height. It's like, kid, just stand up.
And another thing that, again, things that annoy me is there's a massive crowd all there, like watching what's happening. And it's only after David carries this, or Mitch carries this kid out of the water, that the mum comes over and goes, "Oh, that's my kid."
Yeah.
Even though there's been a massive crowd.
Baby?
Yeah, exactly. Bad parenting. Ring the social services straight away for that.
Now, obviously, we're back today from going to Chaco Bay. Now, there's no small Shawn Michael type gangsters or anything out of Chaco Bay that I was aware of. However, there's the sea. My girls are near the water. I cannot chill out. I'm like a hawk, you know? So what the fuck are the people doing? There's kids drowning in caves, and their parents are nowhere to be seen.
2 in 3 days, essentially, you would think. 2 potential deaths. This is a death at this beach.
This is why, right? You know, earlier on, we were criticising how many people worked for Baywatch in the opening sequence, because it was just actor after actor after actor, lifeguard after lifeguard after lifeguard. And we were like, who are all these people? That's why they're needed, because people are just like, "Oh, I'm going to go have a bit of a splash. Oh no, I've fallen down in this puddle and I can't breathe now. Someone come and save me." You know, that's kind of what happens, isn't it? The old adage of you can drown in 2 inches of water. I bet people in this place genuinely fucking do. I bet people trip over in the street nowhere near the beach, and end up with like half their face in a puddle and go, "Shit, I don't know what to do now." They start screaming for help, you know. And then
that's why they do it, because if you've got the opportunity of Pam Anderson or Donna DeRico or Yasmin Bleef saving your life, you would play dead in that water.
Well, yeah, to be fair, I would be all about that, yeah.
But then if Michael Newman come, you'd be like, "No, it's right, I can swim."
Oh my God, I've cleared all the water myself.
It's a miracle.
Can you imagine that, man? I've trimmed my tush back, so it's actually a little bit bristly, a little bit sharp. It does look quite bushy. We'd be like Velcro, wouldn't we? We'd be like, you know, stuck together. I'm like, "You man, get off!" You're twice the age of everyone else on this show, apart from Hasselhoff. You don't belong. Get your tongue out of my mouth.
And get your hand. I'm not touching your cock.
Oh, there's bound to be a kid in a cave somewhere. Go do your fucking job. Anyway, we get back to the Baywatch office, and
We do.
There's a phone call. It turns out to be Tony looking for Pammy's mum, which is funny that he knows to call there and speak to her directly, and knows that she's going to be there at that exact moment in time too.
Yeah, just like how it was funny that Shawn Michaels knew she was on a beach in California.
Yeah, that is some real stalker-esque sort of stuff, man. That takes a lot of hard work and training, I imagine. Eventually, she spills the beans, doesn't she? CJ asks Mitch to leave them alone in the office so that the mum can explain to Pammy's character. She gets filled in with all the details. So they go and see Tony, who is sat chilling when Shawn is stood behind trying to look all imposing. It doesn't quite
And
work.
he's the same heart. He's absolutely the same heart as him, and the guy's got no shoes on. Jesus Christ! But how mean did Pammy and her mum sound? Like, you leave me alone and leave my mum alone as well, and definitely don't bully me, the mum, and leave my daughter alone. And he's like, I'll just fucking kill you both, bitch.
Yeah. He's like, I'll do all I want. You're wasting your time coming here, love. This is a pointless journey. But they threaten the IRS and all that sort of stuff, which is always the way to go, isn't it? When a gangster
Yeah. If you are threatened with murder, threaten back with tax evasion. That's how you win. That's how they took down Al Capone. So
I was literally about to say that, yeah.
Tony Blanton.
There we go. They're now back at CJ's flat, and Mitch and Cody are there, and they all have a bit of a dance.
No, Mitch and Cody do not want to have a bit of a dance. So this is for context. Shelley, CJ's mum, is a Vegas showgirl.
Seriously, we're halfway through this episode, and you've just gone for context. I think that's well out the window now, mate.
But this is how they try and explain the dancing part of that. She's a Vegas showgirl. She may be the worst dancing Vegas showgirl that I've ever seen. She's out of breath all through this scene, like literally knackered. The dance that she does, it's almost like she's falling over. And Mitch dances better than her, and he's a lifeguard, not a Vegas showgirl. So, yeah, this whole scene is ridiculous. Apart from Pammy dancing in a very short lilac dress with no bra. That's what this scene is all about, isn't it?
It gets thumbs up from me, mate. It gets thumbs up from me.
I mean, when we get to the end of the dance scene and the guys have to essentially catch the women, poor David Hasselhoff is bummed out with old woman Shelley. Cody gets to catch CJ wearing this very short skirt, and he almost gets his thumbs up. If it wasn't for a quick save by Pammy to keep the skirt from riding up, we would have maybe have seen Pammy's cave.
I hope my kids are in bed. He weren't messing around though, was he? The actor who played Cody. He perhaps I've done him a misjustice here. I'm saying that all these people around here seem really dumb and so on. Perhaps he's a really good actor and he's just actually super intelligent because he has seized his moment there. He knows he's grabbing onto Pamela Anderson, who at this point in time is one of the most beautiful women in the world. He's like, look, I'm going to get a few moments where we kiss. I'm going to get a few moments where we cuddle. But this moment, I've got to grab her and wrestle with her a little bit. I am getting a firm hold of certain areas where I want to get a firm hold of because he can explain it away.
Yep. Sorry, it was an accident.
I was acting. Oh, dear. Ultimately, though, the fun and games have to stop.
Because, do they?
Well, yeah. Because Shawn and Shawn's new sidekick, I guess, a big monstrous looking bloke who makes Shawn look even smaller.
He looked to me like, and I know it wasn't him, but he had the look of Lance Cade, if you remember.
Yeah.
Lance Cade and Murdoch, former WWE Tag Team Champions.
Shawn
Garrison
Michaels trained
Cade.
Lance Cade.
He did, yeah, exactly. And that's where I got the connection from. But it wasn't him because you do get a close up. But this guy, he is a moron, an absolute moron. He looks like he has no brain cells whatsoever.
He looks,
but he's massive.
Bit, again, mid to late 90s reference here. He looks a bit like if you crossed Lance Cade with Ian Dowie.
Okay, I was thinking more like Lance Cade if he'd had a brain aneurysm.
Is that not the same as Ian Dowie?
Maybe. Ian Dowie, Jesus wept. That's a ugly man.
Google him, kids. In fact, make sure it's daytime when you do. Don't go to bed with that image in your head. Oh my god. As they turn up, we get the startled line. We get a little bit of range, a little bit of depth. This returns to those Uh-oh, Mum. Obviously, it puts forward how shocked and dismayed she is.
Yeah, and this again is another scene that pissed me off because they are loading the back of the yellow lifeguard pickup truck. They see this car coming, and they make the very slightest attempt to run away. It's I mean, I'm a chunky guy. I could run faster than this, way faster. And another thing that annoyed me was this was exactly the same area where the kid nearly drowned not a few days ago in the cave. But when these two women are nabbed, they try and make a run essentially down to the beach where this kid had almost died in this cave. But they were running to where Tony was. Because when they finally get... there's a bit of a rigmarole where CJ's mum almost slips and she gets caught, and then Shawn Michaels and Wish Lance Cade pick her up, and then they carry on walking the way that they were going. Down to the beach where Tony is sat with half of a gazebo set up, just enjoying the sun in a three-piece suit.
We're back to the Mags' Gazebo podcast here.
My gazebo is way better than Tony's gazebo.
And you're not even a mobster, mate. Well, at least
am I not?
Oh wow! There we go. Tony basically threatens them and says he's going to make them go for a swim, which obviously is a incredibly difficult thing to figure out what he means. And
yeah, but the mum didn't get it. The mum had to be explained multiple times that he will drown CJ. Yes.
But then CJ's allowed, she's given an hour, isn't she, to go back and fetch the disc for Tony. And you get the line of, well, when I bring you the disc, how do I know you won't kill us anyway? And Tony just goes, you don't.
That's the gamble. Take a gamble. Because a lot of his lines, this is the kind of mobster where his whole character is that he's a gambler. So everything he says, he has to worm it round that he's speaking about gambling all the time. Like he says, I believe you're bluffing, and you were my lucky charm, and you've got to take a gamble. Every line that comes out of this moron's mouth is linked to gambling.
Yeah, CJ goes back and fetches the disc, finds it, because it was incredibly well hidden in her locker, of course. Mitch, because he's all-knowing, all-wise.
What's going on?
What's happening here?
And then CJ's like, nothing's wrong. And he's like, Pam, I know how shit of an actress you are. There's clearly something going on. What's that disc behind your back?
Yeah, the disc that you mentioned earlier on in the flat. Somebody mentioned disc, and you tried to hide it by saying disco. But now there's
how ridiculous was that? And he just ate it. He just believed it. What an idiot.
And then he stood there, and you can see the cogs turning after Pam. He sort of sneaked past him in the doorway to run back. And he's sort of going, Now, I don't know if that's a look of, I'm figuring something out, or if that's a look of, I've got no idea. Did she just fart? Yeah, she just popped one out as she ran past me there. Cheeky bitch. This locker room stinks now. She gets back to the gazebo layer. The den. I don't really know what it is. It's one sheltered square on the beach where this mobster is hanging out, and gives them the disc. They're going to get told off anyway. But luckily, Mitch and Cody have followed them to see what's going on. They dive on him. It all ends up in quite a long fight.
Do not gloss over this part. This is the best part of the whole show. This makes the last 40 minutes worth it because you've got the most wrestling of all the wrestling that there is in this episode. You've got Cody doing a double leg takedown and then a headlock takedown on wrestler Shawn Michaels. He performs these moves. You have Mitch and Lance Cade, Poundland Lance Cade having a fight. That's a little bit more even. Mitch gets tossed into the water a couple of times, but he essentially gets the better of him. And then you've got Tony getting rolled on the back by CJ's mum, who's doing Dusty Rhodes levels of bionic elbows. And then you've got Steve Blackman, aka CJ, laying the boot into the ribs. It's great wrestling.
Scottish Danny in the chat. That's amazing. Sean sold more for her than Brett. Oh, fantastic. She's probably better working it. No. I don't mean that. Oh my god. I'm gonna get
Pammy screwed Pammy.
Everyone else probably did. Oh my god. Anyway, I mean, effectively, that's kind of it then, isn't it? We get a scene where Pammy and them are just walking along, talking about, oh, I miss you, and then they mention, oh, they've gone to prison for a long time because apparently the court case would have already happened, or the evidence has been gathered.
Yeah, it didn't mess around. I mean, things just happen in America. You can get from Vegas to California in a matter of minutes. You can take down a mobster who has won nearly $9 million in suspicious, untaxed winnings. You just are able to get things done in America. No messing about with legal proceedings and innocent till proven guilty. It's just done.
But I reckon that's down to Mitch, because I mean Hasselhoff, it's the Hoff. He probably just said, "Look, this is what's happened, man."
He did it, and they went throw the key away.
Thanks, Hoff. You saved the day. That's it, done, dusted, isn't it?
Yeah. So we do get the kind of wrap up scene where CJ has apparently never cried in front of anyone in the history of the world, even though she's quite clearly crying in this scene. The mum she's got nothing. So she's going back to Vegas to set up a new show, and CJ
I wouldn't bother, love.
Yeah, because you can't dance. You can't dance for Toffee, love. And you're about 70-year-old. But CJ says, no, stay here in LA. And she went, well, no, if I go on tour with this new show that I've not got, then maybe we'll see you again. I put it to you that she probably is never in this show ever again. She never gets mentioned.
Shall I look it up now whilst you fill time? I know you love it when I drop these things on you like this.
Yeah, it's amazing. But yeah, it's just she's such a hammy actress. She just goes way overboard.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, the scene is. It would be emotional if it wasn't. The lines weren't so cheesy. They go on about how essentially it was. It was just them two throughout the early part of CJ's life, and that CJ is her mum's best friend, which is a bit sad to say that you lived in Vegas. But I believe have you found whether she was in the show again?
No, I've just realised that what her surname is in the programme.
Shelley Sands, I think.
Sands. Her surname is Sands, and she's that's levels, mate. That's levels.
This is quite. We're slated this, but this is deep storytelling.
Well, it says here that she was in Baywatch. No, it just says the years of the show. No.
How many episodes was the actress in, though?
I think this.
You're not going to find it. Yeah,
no,
I believe that she was never mentioned again, or if she was, it was very rarely.
I think they might be one of those throwaway lines. Like, oh yeah, oh CJ, your mum, Shelley, how's she getting on? Oh, she got involved with another gangster, and now she is dead.
And now she's dead.
Yeah. And then Mitch just sort of went, oh, all that trouble in the past for nothing. Let's get down to the caves and see if there's any kids.
And Michael Newman in the background, wait for me.
Oh dear, Magsy, I suppose we should. We can't from a wrestling standpoint, but from an entertainment standpoint, rate this out of 10?
10.
Are you giving this a 10?
I'm out bollocks. It was terrible. I bitterly regret bringing this up, but it was fun to watch because of how hammy it was. I mean, I remember watching Baywatch as a teen, and I don't remember it being this hammy and this terrible. This is, you're talking about one of the biggest shows in the world. This was everywhere. Everybody watched Baywatch. But yeah, it has not aged well at all.
So what you're thinking out of 10?
0.
Really?
No, I'll have to give it something just for how good of a wrestler Cody was. Not even Shawn Michaels, Cody. That headlock takedown was beautiful, and that double leg really well played. So a 1. Can I stretch as high as a 1? Yeah, we'll give it a 1 because we also see some dusty bionic elbows from Mrs. CJ.
See, Sean's my guy, so I got a kick out of seeing him in this. Initially, the first time he appeared on screen, I was like, "There's Sean," and then it quickly
and that's where it ended.
That was it, you know.
And then the bell rung.
But, mate, it's Pamela Anderson. I was mad on Pamela Anderson at this time. You think when this came out in 97, I was 16, 17? Do you know what I mean? So, and she is stunning. You know?
And yet you fell asleep watching it. So what does that say?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But at the same time, I think there's an argument to be made that I would rather go back and watch this again, just from a pervy standpoint with Pamela Anderson, than watch Undertaker Yokozuna at at Royal Rumble 94, or even potentially Sting versus Meng, because that was rubbish.
Okay, but would that not be any Baywatch episode? Not particularly one with Shawn Michaels in.
No,
just because it's Pamela.
Yeah,
we have to judge this.
That.
We have to judge this on the wrestling in its singularity.
Okay, in that case, then I'm gonna go. I'll go a 1 as well. I think we are going to see. I think we're going to see worse wrestling than this at some point in the show's run. That's going to get a 0.5 or a 0.
I mean, to be fair, if we go back to the original second episode, we didn't give the Supermarket Brawl a rating because it wasn't actually wrestling. So
that is true. I rate that higher than this.
There was a lot more wrestling in it.
Yeah, exactly. Magsy, then, very conscious of the time, my friend. Where are we going to go next week? How do you link from Baywatch and all the goings on that we've encountered this week on Chain Wrestling Live to where you might want to go next week?
Okay, so this is normally where I have to do a very convoluted link. I mean, last week's was a 10-minute link all on its own. This is pretty much very, very simple. The link is Pamela Anderson and Shawn Michaels. So we're going to WrestleMania 11. Diesel, who was cornered by Pamela Anderson, and Shawn Michaels, who was cornered by Jenny McCarthy and Sid. That's where we're going for the World WWF title. You went for that one, didn't you?
I have 2 in mind. And the reason I had 2 in mind was because I thought
I knew we'll go for that one.
I thought I guarantee Magsy will pick one of these 2 options. And I will then go for the one that he does not pick. Okay? And again, to me, the obvious... You've got all the WCW links with Baywatch. Of course you have. You know, Hogan, Kevin Sullivan was in it. There's Baywatch skits on Nitro in 95. And there's loads of links there with WCW. But the obvious is Shawn and Pam. Because of what we've just seen. So to me, there's 2 standout moments. WrestleMania 11, as you said. Or... what brought Pamela Anderson into the WWF initially in 1995, which was the Royal Rumble. Now, I was going to go for whichever one you didn't pick, because I kind of had an idea you'd go for one of those. You chose WrestleMania 11. Now, that would be my first choice, because I think there's a lot to talk about there with the structuring of WrestleMania 11, the match that goes on last instead of the world title match. I mean, there's a lot to discuss there that could get really interesting when we do our sort of little deep dives into the more serious side of the wrestling business. Well, as serious as we get anyway. But I have to put something else up. So I would quite happily watch your pick, Magsy, WrestleMania 11, Shawn Michaels versus Diesel. But the other alternative is Shawn Michaels earning the right to face Diesel at WrestleMania 11, the 1995 Royal Rumble, where Pamela Anderson was going to escort the winner to WrestleMania, and she's at the Rumble as well. So those are your picks for next week. Very Shawn and Pammy heavy, which is fine with me. Two beautiful looking people. I'm okay with that. We have we have the world title match from WrestleMania 11 of Shawn Michaels versus Diesel, with Pamela Anderson at ringside and so on, and a bit of controversy with regards to Shawn's attitude and the thought process behind the card itself and so on. That is really interesting. Or we have the 1995 Royal Rumble, where Pamela Anderson was there as well to celebrate with the winner, in theory, and then escort that person onto WrestleMania. Those are your choices. They will be up on the poll on Twitter later in the week after the audio version has been released via SJP World Media. Yeah, those are your choices there, Magsy.
Great picks. I mean, either way, we're going to get some, as Scottish Danny says, some 1995 goodness, and I dare say we'll, yeah, and I dare say we'll end up skimming over the pick that doesn't win because of the storyline is so interlinked.
Yeah, there we go.
So it'd be a perfect time for a draw. It'd be a perfect time for a draw.
Dan Griffin. Work your magic, my friend. Work your magic. Magsy, do you want to let everybody know whereabouts they can find you online, my friend?
I say this every week, and they can't, because I don't go online anymore. I am a social pariah.
It's
I
just
don't know if
a
it's
habit that I say it.
I know, and I will come back to social media. I'm just enjoying the breakaway from it. But you can follow me down here on Twitter at PodFatherMags, or on TikTok at MagsAllPods, or just follow me as I go around my day-to-day life.
There you go.
In Burnley.
Yeah, just peeking around corners and so on. Like Shawn Michaels following
with a pair of binoculars and some sunglasses.
Indeed. You can find me online at SJP Words, but most importantly, from that aspect, you want to be checking out the network that carries so many great shows and more coming very soon as well. SJP World Media, you can find that on Facebook, and you can also find that on Twitter at SJP World Media there. And that's where the audio version of Chain Wrestling can be found, Nitro Nights can be found, the Doctor Who pod, and then we have our good friends from the States, Yvonne, Josh, and Chuck, who bring us WWE. I know you said F then, Maxie. Bloody hell, that's weird, isn't it? WWE look back of the week every week from the States in regularly scheduled hostilities. Benny Mac has a couple of shows over there with us. The Nothingness show, which is out on a Sunday, which is always a good laugh. This week's episode got disturbed by a man with a chainsaw, as crazy as that sounds. So go and check that out. That's out now at the moment on the main SJP World Media feed. We also have In the Corner, where Benny Mac and various guests look at current wrestling, past wrestling, and all sorts going on. And as I said, more shows joining all the time. So go and check us a follow on Twitter at SJP World Media, or go and join the group on Facebook, SJP World Media there. But most importantly, you can find this show and vote in our poll and join in with our non-wrestling topic and so on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and that TikTok thingamy at chain_wrestling. Obviously, the poll is always on Twitter, so if you want to vote and get involved, you need to do it there. But all the others, you can follow us there. Some of them are more active than others. To be honest, just jump on Twitter. That's probably your best bet. There we go. That's where to go. Sharon in the chat there, Magsy, saying Libs has just started following you on Twitter, Mags.
I'll jump on and I'll give her a refollow.
There you go. Magsy, I'm off now after having my appetite whetted to go and just settle down in the dark with my copy of Barbed Wire. I'll see you next week, my friend.
I'll be ready.
I'll be ready.
Whoa.